And welcome back, everybody, to day number 3 of Proving Grounds. We will be having and going into our next match of the day between TSM Academy and Mirage. But before all of that, before we get into the semantics about League of Legends, Dimitri, let's talk a little bit about the mid-season invitational, where we will be having Pentakill doing the opening ceremony, bro. That's gonna be so hype.
Yeah, it's in 3 days, April 11th. I've really missed Pentakill. Obviously KDA is very nice. I love some of their songs. Last EP was great, but I've been missing me some Pentakill, man. It has been so long since we got a third album. Hopefully we get to see the return of some of these of this band, of the first band for League of Legends, but I'm ready to see what they've got. They're the opening ceremony, and for this mid-season showdown, it's going to be really hyped to see them kind of opening up the show.
Yeah, plus they also have like Yorick in the band too.
I wonder what they're going to do with Kale. Kale's the 6th member. What are they going to do? It's not Pentakill anymore. Is it Hexa? Maybe they'll split singers. Maybe Karthus will take a break for a little bit, but
maybe they get one of the KDE members actually come into Pentakill. But you know what? These are all semantics that we can argue
not
about
again,
forth, right? Oh, all semantics does. We do have a bracket as well for you all to look at the schedule going into today, right? Like we mentioned before, right, the overall schedule that we've seen already with EGP moving on. They will be facing the winners of No Org versus Barrage. That series we will be seeing tomorrow and should be absolutely fantastic, Dimitri.
Yeah, it'll be really fun, and it has been a final, and it has been a match that we have seen before. And the best part about this is that now Amateur will have a team, at least one team, going over into top 3 for the tournament. So, that makes me so excited. It makes this just so. I think it's really pleasing to see when Amateur, all of the Amateur teams have been working so hard to get to this spot, and now able to show off and get their rewards from it. This will be our lower bracket going on. And we see that some of the matches tomorrow, we have 100 Thieves versus another match. And then we also are going to see today, like you said, Dignitas Mirage versus TSM Academy. Dignitas Academy will move down to face FlyQuest on the 7th or next week. But I'm super excited for the match we have today because there are a lot of teams coming up here and a lot of Academy teams versus some Amateur teams down here.
And we do have to remember, Dimitri, right? Whoever loses matchup is gone.
Yep.
They're done. So they will be bottom 4 within this tournament. So if it were to be Dignitas Barrage, that would be such a massive upset. But I find on the side of TSM, right? They've been a solid Academy team. They looked a little bit back and forth with the Zeus series. But I gotta say, coming into this, I imagine they're rejuvenated and revitalized and looking to possibly move on forward.
Yeah, when I look at this team, obviously they had a really tough matchup. Their first match is against Cloud9 Academy, the first seed from Academy coming in. So, and they're the 16 seed, so not expected. And coming up against TSM Academy, if you were to look on paper and you were just to take away nameplates, you were to take away, basically, if you're just a new viewer to Proving Grounds, you're saying TSM is going to beat whatever this Mirage team is. However, TSM they've been a little bit on the downtrend, and on the opposite side, Mirage are, they haven't had the strongest first foot, but I believe in the Amateur boys, and I think that there's still a little bit of fight in these guys, especially with their road to Proving Grounds. It has not been the easiest. They've had to fight tooth and nail to get here, and I'm excited to see what they come out with because obviously they were not happy with their performance going up against Cloud9, and I'm hoping that with the time that they've had in between that series and this one, they've had time to at least kind of change up some of their drafts, change up their play style, and come into this with a renewed mindset of wanting to fight for their spot in Proving Grounds.
Both teams having very one-sided series before this, right? So like you mentioned, coming into this, we'll be paying a lot of attention to see how they're able to come back and reset their mindsets, right? Because one of the things I do want to talk about as well here, Dimitri, is we're looking at a lot of TSM and we're looking at a lot of Hunter specifically off the board. We know how he likes to play a lot of strong side champions, right? We know that TSM likes to play a lot through him and extend their lead a little bit like how EGP plays a lot through Sturdy and then a pressure across the map. But that matchup between Hunter and Dragoon is quite interesting because I believe it's fair to say that Dragoon is pretty okay with getting pushed there, playing a little bit weak side.
Yeah, he is really good. He's one of the few amateur top laners that play Gangplank. So we've been wanting to see it. We'll be getting into draft soon, and we'll see what TSM Academy looks like. Are they going to be playing around Hanser and having Babip and them connect? This is when we've seen them be the strongest at their point. And are Dignitas Mirage ready to fight back in this draft? Because again, you're going up against Dragoon. You also have Meech and King going up against Cody's son and your son. And I think these two are super fun to watch coming into this.
Right away, right? We see TSM Academy, the first ban. This has been the first ban up against Dragoon every single game. I believe in the past like 15 series of games they've had, it's only been let through once against Maryville, where they played all the way back in Giant Slayer, and you saw just what Dragoon was able to do with those dunks on Darius. But still, solid picks across the board as they are as TSM putting a lot of targeted picks to take. They also take out Hiyami Skarner, which we've seen him play pretty often recently.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to pick here, because I was talking with Deus, with their coach, talking about what they want for Mirage. Obviously, he said, hey, we had a lot of really weird drafts going up against Cloud9 that actually kind of led us to be very much unfavored in the matchup. And hopefully with the renewal of how they've been doing in scrims and with the prep they're doing, they want this series to show that this team is not simply just Meech and King. It is more than that. It is, more than the sum of their parts. They have DNA, who has really improved since the beginning of Proving Grounds. They have Dragoon, who we've been touting as a potential carry player, and getting that Renekton early on, prioritizing his lane, is what I want to see. I'm keeping my eyes yet again. What is Hayami going to pick here? Hecarim is still available. I think that there's so many answers here.
So they really opt into it too. We were talking a lot about Dragoon being weak side, bro. I don't think weak side Renekton is a thing, Dimitri. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I know I am more than capable of playing it, as I am a permanent weak side top laner, unfortunately. But now with this, though, it's essentially just a blind Renekton as they're taking Nart off the board, and they opt into taking the Udyr for TSM Academy along with the Kai'Sa too. So picking up some really strong picks for Cody's son and the Kai'Sa Rel combination. The first time we get to see it today.
And TSM are moving pretty fast through this draft. I mean, they wanted the Kai'Sa Rel, immediately snap that up. Has great engage potential for them if they really want to go for it. And so now we see what is Dignitas's response. They pick themselves up the Varus. So now a bunch of mid laners are free and open. Things like the Nautilus, I think, or not Nautilus, the Orianna are still on the table. I wonder if they'll try to focus down Sword's champion pool, because really what we've seen from him is Syndra and a bunch of Azir games. Obviously, in the regular season for Academy, played a little bit more. He played stuff like the Lucian, played some more different picks, but more recently is really concentrated on these teamfight mages.
Yeah, just solid control mages across the board, and honestly, that's been kind of the meta for most mid laners, right? Having a control mage which you can maintain an even lane state, and then maybe try to push around and help your jungler if you manage to get an early shove. But now, as the bans come in, they take out the GP on the other end. So Dragoon not wanting to play into Hansa GP, which we know can be quite dangerous, right? Because that's one thing we didn't point out, right? Hansa still has the potential of getting a pick on the board for himself, so they're just taking out options for him as they take out the Volibear as well too, so not going to give them that tanky engage as well. So there's limiting more and more of what Hansa can do. Alistar on the other end taken off, so Mirage is going to have a bit, not exactly their pick of the litter for supports, Dimitri.
Yeah, they're gonna have to kind of dig deep. Obviously, King has been playing some really different champion picks for support. He's been prioritizing the Alistar a ton, but we've seen stuff like Nico. We've been seeing him play a little bit of Bard and Morgana. So tons of options here trying to pick out for King. I wonder who they'll give counter pick. With Syndra gone, I think DNA still has Orianna in the pool. So if they want, they can just go for a safe blind pick mid laner. And TSM Academy, I wonder what they're going to go for. Okay, so it is just going to be give counter pick for DNA. This is going to be fun now.
Okay, and now depends on what they pick up. Orianna, Azir, like Lucius, all these super strong champions still on the board for themselves. They could even opt into a blind set mid, although I wouldn't recommend it. But still, all the options remain on the board for themselves. We'll see, and it will be the Zoe pick. This is a Sword special. We've seen this pretty often previously, and it'll be the Aatrox, I believe, as well for a Hotzer.
Okay, picking up the Aatrox, really interesting. They want to try and just allow for him to try and go for this. It is going to be a little bit dangerous to try and play topside right now because of just you have Udyr and you have Hecarim. It's going to be quite dangerous for them, especially level 4 when we see it. I wonder, DNA, are you gonna do it? Are we gonna see the return of the queen to the mid lane? Yes!
Yeah!
Seraphine! Thank you! We get to have a little bit of Seraphine fun. Okay, awesome. I was wondering what DNA was going to pick because, I mean, DNA has been so supportive in mid lane, allowing for Hayami to really kind of take off on carries. And into TSM, they have no way of stopping her. They want to run into her, and DNA on the Seraphine's like, let the encore rip.
The star-eyed songstress Dimitri is ready to slash and dash across all of TSM Academy, right? Because you see, looking on the side of Dignitas Mirage, they have a solid amount of disengage too, and especially with Meech being able to really far back with the support of King, so we know there's already tons of protection there for the carries of Mirage. But on the other end of TSM Academy, like you're pointing out, these guys have a complete W button on themselves. They want to go into nothing but. Now, yet again, it's going to be interesting for me to see how BABIP is able to get into the Mirage backline, possibly because they do have Yurson go along with the engage too. But yet again, the same problem we had before, right, on the side of Dig. How does BABIP make a difference, especially when we get to mid-game team fights?
I see this as TSM Academy want to go for a dive comp, right? You have like just ultimate death ball. As soon as you get anybody under a turret, Zoe can just keep them under turret with her long range, and then Aatrox and Udyr can come in from either behind or just run straight at them with World Ender and Udyr's kit to just blitz them under the turret. Kaisa and Rel are there to follow and go for an engage, and Dignitas need to be able to protect their lanes. So early wards, I think, are going to be very important for King, who has had a little bit of a mishaps when it comes to some of the early laning phase, and they need to be able to protect the side lanes, because if they ever go for the dive, Dignitas Mirage need to then survive it with the Seraphine or some kind of defensive posturing. I'm looking forward to see as we get into game for TSM Academy versus Dignitas Mirage.
Now, one thing I want to bring up too is you were talking about the side lanes, Dimitri, right? Yeah. One of the main win cons for the side of TSM Academy is the Hunter pick. He consistently has been such a strong side laner for them, being able to create difference across the map and through the support of BABIP, right? That's how they play through him, to supporting Cody's son and winning those team fights as we get into the mid and late game. But now with this, we see that Hanser might be at a bit more of an even matchup. We'll likely lose the early push. So we'll see if BABIP decides to affect the early on. He's starting topside, so likely won't see any early ganks towards him.
Ravish, we're in it. We're in the second series. We have a Seraphine. It's going to be great. I love that we also brought up KDA, and of course Seraphine just makes it on through. Coincidence?
I think not.
Exactly. Get your tinfoil hats out. Every time you say KDA, you got to get more and more members on the screen. We're already seeing Ari back in the meta. We've got Kaisa and Seraphine here, the bandmates out to duel. I don't know if we'll see Evelyn quite yet, but it's possible. It's possible.
I imagine like whenever you go into a mirror and they yell KDA 3 times, Seraphine just hits a note.
Okay, that's really terrifying. That's really terrifying. I don't need Seraphine in my dreams or anywhere in my mirrors. That is really scary for me. I don't know if anybody else shares that fear, but there's been a bunch of like memes like of her face like stretched out, and it's kind of like Yumi's, and it just no, I can't, man. No. Taking early control, but Meech has to flash away from Yurson. They can turn this with a lethal tempo.
Immediately one more stack onto Cody's son, immediately cleanses it to all the other end Yurson as well, getting tagged up. But nice early control. We were talking about this, right? The disengage from King was good.
Yeah, and I love this from Dignitas Mirage. They'll have access to level 2 first. Flash onto Meech.
Immediately exhaust onto Cody's son. The one more stun will be able to do it, but they don't get the tags off. And first blood immediately to Cody's son.
2 minutes 30 seconds is our first blood, doing much better than last series. We are off to a running start, and we were looking at it, and it was, Dignitas Mirage, they were first to the lane. They had control of the middle brush in bot lane, thinking, okay, well, they should just be looking to try and go for the level 2. You want to try and delay Kai'Sa and Rel, but the flash from your son just means they're able to get that early kill. And look at this. So they'll walk into this lane, they'll know that they're here, and now with Braum, we're going to get a little bit of a flash forward. This is super good. Meech tries to flash. I think he's expecting there to be a ton of damage, but Hail of Blades on Kai'Sa is actually down for right now. Should be coming up right after the stun lands. Okay, so it actually comes up right there. So it goes up, and because of that, they're able to trade a lot. And at that point, you're saying, if you're on Dignitas Mirage, you're like, cool, we got a bunch of summoners out of their bot lane. Take it and leave it. But since we don't have priority for level 2, they need to back up, and they get a little bit greedy here. Your son able to find this engage and early kill for the bot lane here.
Immediately, because you see, as a stun locked as well, right or not, to me, it's that ignite ultimately. It just puts him so low, just giving Cody's son the execute for himself. But yeah, once we know that as well, Cody's son still has maintained his flash. Meanwhile, King is the only one on his bot side who has his flash yet still. So like, a little bit dangerous definitely right now. Mirage is gonna have to play a bit farther back to make sure that Meech and King don't get caught yet again, as Babip is here. So is Hiyabi. They should be able to catch him out. Okay, puts about some initial shots. Yeah, Bobby realizes he does not want this smoke at all, Dimitri.
He's does he though? Because like Hayami just wasted Ghost. He now is also down in camps, and right now Dragoon is like, okay, if I move over, I lose this huge wave that they're stacking, and if I don't move, my jungler's just going to get invaded. And you even see Sword has already moved, got the push priority. This is what you usually tend to see out of Zoe. DNA also took a back and will also have the TP trying to push into mid lane, but a fantastic set of moves coming out from TSM, setting Babip up for success, and is already off to a little bit of a lead here versus Hayami.
And Hayami just has to watch his Krugs get taken in front of his eyes and can do nothing about it too.
Yep.
That's gotta feel bad, bro. I was talking about before about double crack feels bad. That right there, your camp in front of you, you do nothing. That right there is pain right inside my left aorta, Dimitri.
Wow, that's a really specific part of the heart.
Thank you.
That was an incredibly specific part of the heart. Yeah, and especially for Hecarim, who just loves getting all of these AoE camps, it is definitely a little bit of a heartache for him. But we'll just go to his bot side. We'll start to clear these out. It does mean that Babip is just that much ahead. He also hasn't reset yet, which I think is interesting. So if they were to go for this early Drake, Babip would be technically a little bit weaker versus Hayami. We'll have the level lead versus him, but level 6 on Meteor just doesn't hit the same like it does on Hecarim.
No, unfortunately not, right? Because level 6 is level 3 is level 1, right? Everything is up for you right for the beginning, right? But at least we know that Udyr has hands with how fast he's able to switch through the bear stance, tiger stance, to that phoenix stance as well. The entry. I fear good Udyr players, as Dragoon taking just some nice trades topside. The Bahancer immediately coming out on top of that Darking Blade, so good. The healing on that Q is absolutely exponential. By the way, first time I actually play a strong side top laner too, it was that Aatrox, and I was shocked, and I was like, is this how people just feel being able to get a push in lane and get out?
Yeah. They're trying to look for something, but Hayami doesn't have level 6. They can't quite go for the dive. Dragoon's in a lot of trouble here.
He immediately pops the Dominus, well, gets the heal back too, doesn't have that 50 stacks either, but not be able to find the dive. Haunsters will responds with the ultimate as Dragon taking bot side by Babip.
And look at Hayami's pathing during all of that. A small trade from Sword as he lands the Paddle Star. Hayami was trying to clear out his top side. His Krugs hadn't quite spawned, so he was kind of standing there for a few seconds. It looked like he was trying to clear out a couple wards. And the entire time, Babip and TSM, they say, okay, well, Hayami's top side, the Hecarim is top. Let's just go for this Drake. They can't contest in the bot side. They're going to go for a reset here. I mean, it was a Drake, a really nice call from TSM, and with Haunster living without very many resources used other than the ultimate, TSM, they're not quite in a position to win, but it was still just a nice play overall.
That'll depend. We'll see about how Dig's able to respond to this, right? We're looking at Hayami to be able to just try to catch up in the lane, to farm up as much as he can. We need this Hecarim to be ahead, especially as we head more into like the 50-minute mark. This drag is not up for quite some time, but Rift Herald will be up quite soon too. So I would like Dragoon to push out his lane, and at least half of them respond to make some cross-map plays. He gets some gold back in Dignitas's pocket.
Well, Ravish, as a top laner, I have bad news for you.
What's that?
Your jungler is pathing bot lane. I hate to inform. However, if you're as someone who has played top lane quite a few times, I'm always calling my jungler, bro, just come top, we can kill them. And then I'm like, I look at the mini map, he's like, I'm doing wolves. It is just heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking to see as Hayami trying to take control. You see this, he has finally hit level 6, so Dignitas Mirage, they are trying to push in the wave and get something to happen under this turret. They know that Udyr can't be here as Dragoon yet again.
Dives happening on both sides of the map that we see Hayami actually be staved off as a Dragoon pops the Dominus just now, so gets the healing back to the World Ender, also put up by Hanser, and as that ends, Dragoon barely getting out. Hanser playing this lane really well.
Yeah, he's taking so much, and because of this, Babip is allowed to take the Rift Herald, and still, I mean, he took a pick stop just to do that Rift Herald, but he's still up in camps right now, right? He took another one from Hayami. He's able to then move in, do his wolves, and now just he can move into bot side, and they'll have control of this lane. It's 2 minutes before the Drake, so probably going to be a little bit early before they're able to set up for maybe another Drake control, maybe some wards there. But TSM in the early game are looking really, really good, and so far, Hanser is really just kind of teaching Dragoon a little bit of respect. He's like, hey, you can't do that, man. We're gonna fight for a couple of resources. We're gonna continue to fight for the waves, but Hanser slowly eking out advantages in the experience department.
We were talking about it before, right? Hanser has been one of the main win conditions for TSM in so many of the games they've played, right? Although it's been a back and forth Academy Season 4 so far, we always see Bab, making sure to spend resources over to Hanser. He's been such a fantastic player for TSM. So as of right now, with him constantly being able to maintain the early lead in the lane, right?
That might be a kill.
Sleep in, ignite up, misses the ultimate. Unfortunately, Sword is one.
Wait, Sword!
Slow down to the tower, and it's an even trade.
Okay, that was okay. Let's be fair. That was a lot of Zoe things that just went on, where she just gets a 600 range just because, she gets a bunch of movement speed. But he landed a massive paddle star, and while the Encore doesn't land, the slow from from Seraphine's E just makes it so difficult for Zoe to escape. And since he committed the flash, DNA will have access to coming back and TP into the wave. But that is just like a 1-for-1 means that Mirage right there, like, okay, awesome. I will take that any day of the week.
Star Eyes Songstress gets to do a sightseeing tour of what's on the other end of the rep. Man, I'll try to do as many S's as I can, but this is actually kind of hard. But you know the rhyme. I don't know how rappers do it, but yeah, like you mentioned, DNA really well for himself, and I'm really happy to see the Seraphine pick. We've seen the pick actually kind of fallen out of favor, which I'm not too sure why as of late. Though she has received many nerfs, but like, very happy to see the pick we picked again. We just know how impactful she can be, especially going into these team fights, which is what both of these teams want to do.
Again, if Dignitas Mirage are able to get to a team fight, even if they're late to the team fight, the Seraphine ultimate changes the terrain of the fight so much. We'll see Hayami getting ready to prep for this. They get the flash onto Hanser.
Oh, immediately pop out. Ultimate is there, but the healing is not, and unfortunately cannot get off the auto. And there we go, Hayami with his third rerun to be able to get the pick. Mid lane though, DNA losing out on the trade.
They're just trading right now. It is just poke mid laners, just throwing spells, slinging them back at each other constantly. That was a great play onto Hanser because they then force the flash out of him. Dragoon is able to get right on top of him, and they waste a bunch of his time. So the TP disadvantage that Dragoon was experiencing, if Hanser feels like this wave is big enough, should just have to TP back onto the wave. Will go in favor of them. On the opposite side, TSM, they get that mid push. They try to put as much damage onto DNA, force him to back so that Babip can just take this dragon for free.
And you've seen this too, right? Babip has been putting such a large amount of pressure on making sure to get his neutral objectives. Every single time Hayami's spotted top side, he's either able to just take Hayami's bot side jungle one, or just respond with at least an objective, no matter where he is. So the cross map plays for Babip has been absolutely immaculate, and Hayami, although still fairly behind on farm, is actually behind one level still, so he's still trying to farm as much as he can as he gets forced out of his own jungle yet again, Dimitri.
Yeah, he's losing access to this top side. He did get some of the camps here, which is good. And like you said, BABIP is just taking camps where he can. I find this feels like a little bit of a different jungle, like a little bit of a different BABIP. Now he is taking advantage of Hayami and just punishing him for some of the pathing that he's taking. But I mean, he's going to the enemy and then he's not getting punished because all of his bot side, you look at his camps, they're gone. So Hayami has to look for ganks, has to look for something. He's leaving him no alternative. And in the meanwhile, he's not going for any ganks that he doesn't need to go for. So I'm loving this for as someone who, I mean, for the longest time coming, I mean, even all the way going back to Unified Grand Prix, BABIP was under a lot of scrutiny for this roster. And so I'm so far in this game, I don't want to be too hasty with it, but BABIP is doing well.
Definitely is, and already cementing almost 1,000 gold leaders across the board for TSM. As their trail should be up in just a little bit as well, so definitely be the next major objective that I believe both Hayami and BABIP will look to be able to take. But considering that Hanser has had the push onto Dragoon almost the entire time yet again, right? Now, no matter how many visits Hayami pays, right? Because I know you're the top leader asking for all these ganks, bro. At this point, man, sometimes a matchup is a losing matchup, but just a losing matchup, Dimitri. You can't keep calling more for support. Let me farm.
Come on, the Renekton's not a losing matchup. It's not the worst matchup you could put there. It's fine. Like right now, like you look at where they are. BABIP is just destroying the jungle, and Hecarim, finally his bot lane's like, okay, BABIP, again, you cannot invade bot lane. We are going to constantly stop you from going for this. We see even BABIP trying to make a return play. Maybe he either tries to go for something or tries to connect with his bot lane, but with rail backing, can't see too much. The next couple minutes for Dignitas Mirage, if they're able to get a little bit more farm for themselves and continue to maybe pick up a few more items, it is all about getting to bot lane first, getting to this Drake in the next 2 minutes, and let Seraphine just tear this, just make the team fight untenable for TSM Academy.
Coming all the way down to the first major team fight between both of these teams. Herald is now up, and as you predicted, Hanser with the early push, Dragoon is continuing to farm as much as he can, will allow easy access for BABIP and Hanser to take the second Herald of the game. Hayami as well as top side, but I can't imagine he tries to contest this. Yerson actually roamed up there too, giving Cody some bot lane to just farm. But yeah, and again, BABIP, fantastic all these objectives.
Yeah, BABIP is taking complete control of the jungle right now, and it just means that with Sword resetting, he'll be able to get back onto the map, probably finish his Ludens there, and once he comes back, he is playing Zoe with a Ludens, with the Ionian boots. He will have complete control of this wave versus Seraphine. He will have the first move, and that means that if they want, TSM, after a few waves going back and forth, they can then drop this Rift Herald, either mid or bot, and look to put themselves at Soul Point.
But let's not forget, Dimitri, right? This isn't just Ludens for Sword. Considering it's a Zoe, this is whatever else you can find in the mini wave. It's an Everfrost. It's a Flash. It's an Ignite. It is literally, it's, you know what, it just everything he can find, which I find, like, Zoe, like, I'm very iffy about her as a champion, but that ability right there, just being able to just capitalize on whatever the wave gives you, infuriates me.
This time it's Chem Tank, but it's a little bit far in the lane, and I don't think he's going to be able to get it this time. To counteract Sword, potentially looking for a push, they already have vision in this bot side, and you see Hayami and King, they're waiting in the depths. If Sword ends up using the ultimate, they can maybe just go straight onto him, so they know he does not have the flash, only the cleanse and TP right now.
Waiting for the wave to push in, like you mentioned. So Dragoon has roamed down as well, as they want to make sure that they're first to this dragon. They do not want to give TSM.
They're face checking. Hayami has to go in.
On the agent control, like you mentioned, Hayami going in. Immediately pushes the oxide. Wait. Onto two. On the backside, he just gets blown up. BABIP and Koi-san put out so much damage. Seraphine, of course, unfortunately misses the double Q. Not be able to get the stun onto either. And Hanser now just zoning them all away. They have to use King's ultimate just to be able to make sure they don't go any closer. And TSM dominance across the rift, Dimitri.
Okay, TSM played that all right. They played it decently. There wasn't many like glaring errors. Dignitas, they moved their members. They're just trying to protect their mid laner. But Hayami, He let the NOS button get to his head a little bit there. He went so far. DNA and Meech, they are long range mages, but they're not that long range. So the first turret will go over. The third Drake will go over for TSM. And now with a pretty large gold lead exploding at the 15-minute mark, they're going to take their resets and look to kind of get back onto the map and start to full court press onto Dignitas. This makes the side lanes so much more difficult. And when we look at that dive comp that we set up for on the side of TSM, this makes it so much easier to do it. Look at where DNA and Meech are. They're nowhere near this fight. Hayami, you got to slow down. That's why they installed the brake pedals into cars. You just can't go that fast. And even with an amazing encore from DNA, no one's in position for this. Dragoon walked all the way top lane. They're just using it. They're just trying to stop them from potentially re-engaging for a full-on team fight with a numbers disadvantage. But Dignitas Mirage, they have to lick their wounds. They'll clear out some of the mid-wave in that last play and try to look to do something here because they really are just waiting for TSM to dive. The perfect situation is they're all 5 waiting, and then TSM go for the dive, and they're just able to stall out under the turret. But so far, TSM have not given them the opportunity to do so yet.
Amazing stuff on the side of TSM. As right now, because you're seeing, like you're talking about, Panther being so good, but I'll pause as Dragoon. It's a lot of damage immediately.
Okay.
Will go down, not getting the heal off, and he would die. Which under tower sword at the back, you get a nice bubble. There's just so much damage too, because not allowing Dignitas to engage. Babbitt kind of running back and forth, but look at either side. Will he get the engaged? No, he will not, as TSM are trying to run away. The sword not getting another bubble down. Lands onto the Braum, but it's not the target you want, as your son is just being chased down, Dimitri, and Hayami will get one back.
Oh my god, exactly what they want! I cursed it for TSM. To Dignitas, they get them under the turret, and we see that TSM Academy, they go a little bit too deep under the turret. The Seraphine ult stops them. The Seraphine healing also stops them. And with Braum and Hecarim there to keep the fight going on for as long as possible, they're able to get a ton of members from TSM Academy. As we have to take a pause, I think Dignitas Mirage are experiencing some mic issues, so we'll try to get that fixed as soon as possible. But that was exactly the prescription for Dignitas Mirage filled out to a T there.
Absolutely fantastic, right? The fight they did, and you saw there too as well. That sword actually was not able to get in that fight at all. That Zoe damage becoming almost negligible, and both of those trouble bubbles landing onto the Braum too, making sure that at the end of the day, no real important targets go down for the side of Dignitas Mirage. And now with this, they found that Avenue is back into the game. They might be able to deny that Ocean Soul because they know they cannot let that go over. Which, I mean, hear me out. This is what I'm thinking, right?
Okay.
Big thought. Forget the first two early dragons, right? Okay. They pretty want to stack like 4 Ocean Souls. Because, like, what would you rather have, Dimitri? Like 2 random dragons, or like just straight up 4? Like, come on.
I would take 4. The thing is that takes so long. That's 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes, and that means that 2 Drakes have already been taken beforehand, so maybe another 30 right there. Given that it's not early enough, it'll be 45 minutes into the game before that happens. I think that's a really long time, and with how games are going relatively quickly, around 30-35 minutes, I think that is a kind of a Hail Mary in terms of a goal. I will say that getting 4 Ocean Drakes is pretty OP, but the likelihood of it, maybe not super high. We'll have to wait and see. If Dignitas and Mirage are able to stall out for that long, that is a win condition, especially with Seraphine and going against this dive comp. Whenever they take damage or whenever they do damage, they're going to be healing up for a ton. But we'll have to wait and see before we get any of our hopes up.
As I believe we're just trying to get all those mic issues and everything fixed up, as I believe we'll be going back into game very, very soon too, right? But yeah, Dimitri, let's just talk about the game state as a whole, as you see the replay of the last fight.
Yeah, and look at this. Seraphine is pushing out top lane. They will TP in, and Sword is not able to put in damage, so already a little bit of discord coming in for the side of TSM. The fight takes way too long. The amount of healing that Dignitas are able to get out, and again, the Braum just does a lot in this team fight. The ultimate, the fissure is just so awesome when it comes to just defending under turret. They'll be able to pick up 3 kills. They'll be able to reset. Not able to get too much because a lot of their waves are pushing into them, and obviously losing that tier 1 in the mid lane always hurts just a little bit. But some gold in their pocket will make them feel at least somewhat invigorated as we go further on.
Exactly, putting some hope back into Mirage's eyes. The pathways to making this game more or more even has been a lot, because at least now they are now up in kills, although still 2,000 gold down, right? I imagine both these teams are looking at this next Ocean Drake. Dignitas Mirage cannot afford to give this up at all. Ocean Soul can unfortunately just could be putting them at such a deficit that it might not be able to recover from, Dimitri.
And this is what I was talking about when we were looking in draft. If you take control of this mid lane or you get one of these outer turrets, look at the vision that is now littered on their bot side. We saw that if Zoe is there, she can just sit from Fog of War and constantly drop paddle stars from outside of range where you can't see her. It is so dangerous to be on the outside now. And with 50 seconds in, Dignitas are going to have to keep control of this lane. You look at this, Aatrox is continuing to push out. TSM are going to fight for mid priority, maybe try to find something with Babip if they're able to find a Sleepy Trouble Bubble encore on the 2.
Oh, how immediately they go to Great Refrigerator as well. They pull him back along with Yummy. They're looking for the saying your son is already gone. Fantastic target control, now Babip as well, the next target. Being able to get away, but on the backside, Sword will not be so lucky. Dignitas Mirage, they're bringing it back to me. They're doing it.
Okay, there we go. That's the fight that we needed. They weren't able to execute on their kills quite fast enough. And that means that Dignitas, they will now have access to the Dragon Pit. They will now be able to do this. I think they might just let Dragoon solo this because they're worried TSM might go for the solo. We'll be able to watch this time again. And look at this. They stop Yerson in his tracks immediately. You see this, not able to get the crash down. Gets knocked back into the team. And though it's a Magnet Storm stun, they're not able to do much, and the ultimate coming out from Meech just means, yet again, TSM not able to find kills quick enough mean Dignitas get some more under their belt. They're then able to then move over to the Drake. And, well, they'll lose the top side here. They'll lose the top side of their map here. Dignitas Mirage and their composition, it's showing off what exactly it can do. We've seen it time and time again now, where the fights, TSM don't have enough damage. And again, not able to connect as Babip continuing to take more and more camps. Oh, but Yerson's in so much trouble.
Okay, he actually blast cones back. This is so unfortunate, but Yerson is being collapsed upon. There's absolutely not a hole at all. As Dragoon will get a second of the game, Dimitri.
Good job. And they're punishing TSM for their greed. Babip can get out because Udyr just has a lot of movement speed for relatively cheap and built into his kit. Exactly, it's every single movement speed in the game. But then Yerson really well trapped, and I love how Dignitas Mirage, they kind of just kept them in. They knocked, they again stopped the crash down. They then get the blast code. There's a simple punish there from Dignitas Mirage. Nothing special, nothing too fancy coming out from them. As they can't really go into mid lane. There's so much crowd control coming out from TSM. It's going to be hard to do this. They're going to get a turret for themselves, get their first turret in the game for the side of Dignitas Mirage. And look at how they're positioning right now. They're trying to set up potentially for a mid push, but they need to wait for Sword to be able to clear this out. They can't quite get this. The fact that Seraphine doesn't quite have access to the turret is a little bit worrying. She has 50 CS up over Sword, just means that she's going to get to that level 16 encore that much quicker. But they need to be able to crack open this mid-tier 1 if they want to have a chance to really start to exert their pressure.
Because they're now also just putting some pings around the Baron as well, Dimitri, as that has been out for the past 5 minutes, right? So just trying to set up a little bit of early vision, but now Dig also getting their first brick of the game too. This is going to be a little bit close. TSM have been able to knock down every single outer turret on the side of Dignitas Mirage, so giving them just that much more agency. I find it will almost all go down to who's able to get to the Baron, of course, at this point. Major objective, but right now, all the TSM just setting up around, getting some vision time for themselves. Mirage also looking at this too. They know this is going to be the pinnacle possible breaking point in this game between both these teams.
Mirage, they need to not skip steps here because you look at their vision in top side. If we can get the toggle, there is one red ward placed from Dignitas, but it doesn't see any of their wards. It has now been misplaced and put down into the Baron pit. And they need to be able to clear this out if they want to prevent a TP. Now, Haunters won't be up for the next couple of seconds. It'll be probably up within the next minute, so Haunters automatically making the first move. But if they want to make sure that TSM does not have a chance in this game, they need to clear out the vision, be very systematic with how they take control of the map. And it looks like with this, I mean, with where they're moving, they're trying to take control of both rivers. But with Hayami resetting, we have drag coming up in the next 2 minutes. I think it's going to be really tough for them, especially with some of the item power spikes that are coming in for TSM.
Just looking closer and closer as we go along the way here, Dimitri. We'll see Meech should be able to get it back off as well. They might be able to reset as they wait for the mid wave to crash and onto them, right? So right now, Dignitas Mirage playing very far back, not wanting to overextend the lead that they've worked so hard to build up. Just playing it safe and kiting it out and trying to maintain control of as many side waves as they can. You see Dragoon to respond to the bot side as well. Actually, Hanser is there as well, so might be looking for Bossa 1v1 as he set up this quick 4v4 in the mid lane. Dimitri, DNA already using his double attack, so no stun for them going across the board, but Mirage grouped up.
Look at how difficult this is as they land a massive team fight. They look at the damage from Zoe, and that right there could just mean full control of the Dragon Pit for TSM. They find this onto Hayami. I don't know if they'll be able to connect to too much damage, but I mean, this right here is just continuing to utilize their team comp for the side of TSM Academy. They're taking control of the Fog of War and making sure that Zoe is untouched in every single fight, whether that means just applying artillery damage or just being a nuisance on the side. Hanser in a flank position. They'll see him now. Looks like Dignitas, they want to fight. Yerson!
They go in, it's a 5-man Magnustorm as they get to everybody in Hanser, but it has so much damage. The Encore put her as a response, as Dignitas Mirage is staying alive in this entire team fight. Babby looking to go into, gets a stun onto one King, has to flash out, but Meech is still alive, and so is Cody Slun, the main carries of this entire game. But Hanser is so beefy at the front line, and all these knockups will send them back flying to spawn point. TSM with the ace.
And TSM, they'll be able to get both the Baron and the Dragon. Does this count for our stat, by the way? Does this count? Technically, like Rift Herald is just an evolution of Baron. But we'll have to come back to it as we get the replay here. A massive ultimate from Yerson just keeps the backline away. And then the 2-man Encore, while on the backside, you see Dragoon and Hayami trying to trade, but not able to apply enough damage. Meech just kind of trying to stay there, trying to stand his ground and do damage, but taking everything from all sides. Not only does he have to try to avoid Hanser's Aatrox, but Sword and Cody's Sun it becomes too much for the Dignitas Mirage squad, as they'll get the Ocean Soul for TSM, they'll get the Baron as well, and that just means that now TSM, massively in the lead and in control of this game, are going to start to make their death march onto the base. Hey-o. Yeah, she goes golden.
Just for a couple of seconds, wanted to make sure Zodi, she used it before it ran out. See, like going back to yet again, bro. Ludens or just using Horizon Focus, it's never just one thing with Zoe. It is everything available as someone has left to her. You saw us going to TP down all the way down to the bot lane. Dragon not going to be up as of yet, but now they land a nice bubble onto the Braum. They could possibly collapse onto this, as the Remat will not be able to touch him. Billy gets out alive.
Oh wow, okay, that bubble landed. But this is just now TSM. They get to do whatever they want on the map. Or the side of Dignitas Mirage, they don't have a lot of good raged wave clear. They're gonna have to step up to TSM, and again, when you take control of all of the vision and you allow for Zoe to be this amazing artillery mage, it becomes super difficult. You need to be able to find some kind of hard engage, look for something on the map, either a cross map play or just try to find a flank, but no vision wards available, and DNA is constantly put to sleep permanently now. They're going for the fight, Ravish.
Not even put to sleep, but just taken out again. Get Hanser in the middle of 4, Dimitri.
Oh, that's me.
He has a big shield. He's a little bit more healthy, but it doesn't matter, as your son is so attractive. He pulls all of the Mirage to him as they fall one after another. Although the tower shot takes Cody's Sun, TSM will take game number 1.
Okay, and not able to do much. Dignitas Mirage, they tried to withstand the assault from TSM. We saw a couple of good plays for them. They were able to do that, but the game going very quickly in favor of TSM. And starting off our series, Dignitas Mirage already backs against the wall. Remember, whoever loses this series, they are out of the tournament. They are out of Proving Grounds, and they're going to have to wait until summer. TSM Academy coming out swinging this time around. A very strong draft, again, giving Sword some comfort picks, giving Cody-san his Kaisa, and Yursan. I mean, this is a new, remember, this was their original support. They could not play due to visa issues. And while the team looked a little bit shaky in both the Arena of Legends and towards the end of Unified Grand Prix for Tier 1s, this Engage, finally, I mean, when we see him on Engage, his Nautilus was super clean when we got to see it, and now his Rel looking quite the same.
And I do want to give another massive shout out over to Babip as well, right? You saw
Yes.
how much agency he had all across the map. We were talking about as well very early on. His objective control was immaculate. He was able to get every single dragon, every single Rift Herald, and every Baron that spawned in this game was secured by Babip. Of course, to the backside of Hanser, of having a favorable matchup topside. And we said before, Babip and Hanser, this fantastic duo looking absolutely unstoppable in this game number 1.
Yeah, we saw how they utilized the top pressure, right? Anytime that Aatrox was able to push a wave, Babip just was like, okay, cool, so the Krugs are mine. Hayami's Krugs are just mine. I will just take those for myself. And then, hey, cool, I get to slowly start to build my lead. And we saw it start off. It was just one camp for Babip in advantage over Hayami, but it started to slowly creep until eventually Babip was starting to run away with his lead and become a massive nuisance for his team. So I love what they did. I love how they were, able to click and kind of get the jungle top lane connection there for themselves. Now what I want to see from TSM is, how do we continue that dominance? How do we now start to include maybe even Sword in this play? Because we saw Dignitas, they got rid of TF there. They want to maybe try and get rid of Sword from connecting with these plays with the other laners. But I think it'd be really interesting to see how they end up showing up. And obviously, I think Cody-san and Yursan really showed up here as Dignitas Mirage. There was glimpses of hope throughout that game, but not quite bright enough in this one.
Well, we'll see if that shine, if that glimpse continues to shine even further here, Dimitri, or will it unfortunately die out, as will the hopes of Mirage. Find out that and more when we come back after a short break. We'll see you right here on Proving Grounds.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+, as well as Discovery+, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best, only from Verizon.